Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another video for Alex's Flying Club. This is a game called Rise of Flight. It's a World War I aviation combat simulator. A lot more realistic than S.XIII, which I was showing previously. And I got this game recently. I'm still learning a lot about it, and I'm not very good. So this is a practice mission, and I'm going to be taking off from a field and heading over to attack a two-seater, which is a reconnaissance or bombing aircraft. And they're relatively an easier target compared to an enemy fighter, but they've got a nasty surprise in that they have a rear gunner that shoots at you as you try to attack them. So that's kind of the challenge. I've actually tried to attack these two-seaters several times before, and it's harder than it looks actually. And it's kind of almost like attacking B-17s in S.XIII, where if you're not careful, you can easily get killed by the gunners. What I like about this game is that the controls are more realistic than in S.XIII. This is kind of like IL-2 Cliffs of Dover, another really realistic simulator, in that pretty much every single control is modeled. So I'm just kind of looking over the controls here. And on full realism setting, you actually have to wait like 5 minutes for the engine to warm up. And that's what I'm doing here. Started the engine, that's the mixture right there. The mixture control, which regulates the amount of fuel that the engine's getting. I'm just waiting for the temperature of the engine to reach 50 degrees. Sorry the camera's kind of jumping around there. It would be a lot better if I had track IR, like I mentioned in one of my previous videos. It would be a lot smoother. The viewing transitions, and looking at all the different controls and outside and checking my S.XIII would look a lot better. But for now, this is the way it's going to look. And I'm a little over halfway to the engine temperature that I'm waiting for. So once we get there, I'm going to take off and head on over to find the two-seater. And yeah, this game is really fun. I find it very challenging. Unlike S.XIII, you can play this game with icons off, so you don't see the enemy planes in the distance, you know, marked whatever the plane is in red, so that's easy to spot. You actually have to look for them in the sky, and they typically really blend in with especially with the ground clutter when you're above them. It's really hard to actually just keep following them, keep track of them. And with these biplanes, these World War I biplanes, the visibility is so limited with the second wing and all the different spars and wires that it makes it even harder. And you'll see that as I try to attack this two-seater. It takes me a ridiculous amount of time to kill it. Probably like 7 passes. But it was actually the first time I managed to do so. I've tried this several times, and the rear gunner would injure me or destroy my engine every time. Okay, so that the second dial from the right reads almost 50 degrees now, so I'm going to take off pretty soon. There's the radiator control that just moved. I kept the radiator closed to warm the engine up, and now I'm opening it up for takeoff. On the left is the speed indicator, on the right is the altitude. And this plane that I'm flying in is a SPAD 13. It's in the colors, the unit colors of Eddie Rickenbacker, who was the top American fighter ace during World War I. He was also a race car driver before the war. I think there is a lot of similarities between auto racing and aviation, especially in the early years of aviation. A lot of these World War I, I don't know about a lot, but some of these World War I aircraft actually had their engines taken out after the war and replaced into cars. And needless to say, those cars would go really fast compared to other cars of the day. Jay Leno actually owns one or two of these cars. They're called Aero-engined cars. You can watch videos of him taking them out of his garage and just cruising around Los Angeles in these obnoxiously loud automobiles powered by aircraft engines. So this video is just going to be one-on-one dogfight, pretty drawn out, but I think it illustrates some of the basic challenges that this game offers. The first being is just engine management. When you're playing on full realism, you gotta constantly check that your radiator is in the proper position. If it's just like I did right there, the radiator pretty much allows the engine to cool down or get a little more heat as it needs be, and I think for this aircraft I have to keep it above, I have to keep the aircraft engine temperature above 50 degrees and below 80, below 85, so somewhere in that area. If I need to have the engine cooler, just open the radiator, let some more air in. If I need to have the engine heat up a bit, I'll close the radiator. Another aspect that you have to manage with the engine is the fuel mixture, which is the ratio between the fuel to air that the engine is getting. And the higher you get, the less oxygen there is in the air, and you have to give a thinner mixture to the engine with more oxygen for the engine, rather than a rich mixture that you want at lower altitudes. Love the way moisture looks in this game when you're flying through clouds. So I'm in the vicinity of the two-seater. I'm looking around for it. And these things you don't want to attack straight from behind, going slow, you know, relative to them going around the same speed. You don't want to do that, because the gunner will just nail you. You want to come in above them and swoop in on their 6, and there's the two-seater. off my right wing and swoop in on their 6 and try to hit their center fuselage or the wings is really effective. Try to get some shots and then zoom up and away from it so that the gunner doesn't have a good chance to shoot at you. And it's very, very difficult for me in this game so far to get used to keeping an eye on the target with all the ground clutter. During this engagement, I lose track of this guy a bunch of times. And you can't see in this playback, but I'm actually checking the map, where I have this mostly set on full realism, but I left map updates on so I can see where he is on the map, and I can vector get his direction where I need to go to find him. I have to do that a bunch of times because I lose visual contact really, really easily. It's just a matter of getting used to looking for small dots in the sky. Once one of these biplanes gets 1,000 yards away, they become very, very small thing to see in the sky. I might have actually gotten a piece of his wing that first pass. I saw something flying off. It might have been my machine gun casings, or I might have gotten his wing. But in any case, he's still flying, and actually, I pull up here and my evasive maneuvers weren't the best because his gunner still had a shot at me. As with pretty much all air combat, energy management is really important. So you need the altitude when attacking these guys, but with all the maneuvers you do after the attack, turning away from them, you lose that energy. You have to build it back up and conserve it every time you make a pass. There he is. Yeah, and this looks like I am always finding him in the sky, but I am just checking my map to see where he is, and I just come back toward him. Another challenge of this game is actually to aim too, because this simulation is very different from something like S.XIII, where you don't have as much recoil from the guns. And the planes are different too, they're more flimsy, so you can see why you would get the recoil. And I'm still haven't gotten used to the convergence distances here, and how the machine guns work, with the spread of the bullets after you shoot them. That's something I have to practice more. So I think here's actually where I think I did a good job of building up energy and keeping visual contact with the two-seater, but once I make my attack, I actually lose visual contact, and I spoil all that advantage. And the two-seater, of course, is going to try to increase separation from you so that we waste even more of our energy trying to catch up to him. I think this is where I lose him. He's already started shooting at me, so I dive down. You can see I got lucky there. He could have easily taken me out. And this zoom right here that I just did is not well advised, because if that two-seater had forward-firing machine guns, I don't know if this one does or not. Maybe he just wasn't firing them. He would have had a great shot on me. It's better to turn away from the direction that the two-seater is turning. And I got all these tips for attacking a two-seater from Requiem. He had a good YouTube video on this process, and in general he's got a great series of YouTube videos about Rise of Flight and takeoff landing tutorials for all the different kinds of aircraft, and sample dogfights that he's done. It's really informative stuff, and he's been fairly active recently on Twitch TV, posting live streams of his online sorties, which I always find to be very entertaining. I'm definitely an aviation nerd, but I just love to watch really good flyers, online flyers, fight in online battles, see what kind of tactics they use, see the kind of cooperative activities they have with their squad mates. For me, it's like watching a movie. That was a good decision, I think, not to push with that attack from below. I came in with not enough energy, so it's better to get a little separation, build up your energy, and come back for another attack. Attacking a two-seater is a lot easier if you have upward firing guns, like some of these planes do. You literally It's located on your upper wing. You tilt them up and fire at about a 45-degree angle, and that way you can attack these two-seaters from below, and it makes it really easy because the gunner on the two-seater can't fire at you. You've pretty much got a free shot. But this is more of a challenge. I think I actually might have gotten some good shots on that pass. So Eddie Rickenbacker, the ace that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, whose skin I'm using on this airplane, it's the same skin of his aircraft when he was flying for the 94th Aero Squadron. He was involved in both auto racing and aviation industries after World War I. He actually founded his own automobile company, and that didn't do so well. According to the Wikipedia article I read about this, the cars were priced a little too high for those times, and he might have been putting out the cars during the time of the Great Depression, which would explain why it didn't sell so well. And there you can actually see I clipped his wing. Going for the wings, I think is a great thing when you're fighting these biplanes, because it's just so vulnerable. There's so many wires, as you can see, and yeah, it's the way you hunt a two-seater. That was the first one that I've managed to shoot down. In here I'm just looking for the crash site, which I don't think I actually found. But I just fly around here for a bit. I got distracted by those bits of airplane wing floating through the sky, and I lost where the crash site actually was. And actually I don't even know if in this game the wreck remains there for a long time. We might have just cleared it. In any case, the rest of this video I'll just be flying back to the airdrome and attempting a landing. We'll see how that goes. So as I was saying about Eddie Rickenbacker, the Rickenbacker Automobile Company, he used a lot of the publicity that he gained as a World War I ace to market his cars. He actually used the insignia of his air combat unit as the car logo, the automobile company logo. But some of these cars, I mean, they're, needless to say, very rare because they were made for only a few years, but they still exist, and there's a Rickenbacker Automobile Club for owners of these cars. I think it's a pretty cool piece of history, actually. I'd like to see one of those. And then he went on to be an executive at Eastern Airlines, I believe was the airline company. but an interesting man. So I would have liked to have posted some of my S.XIII videos. We flew in FSO recently, and also just some of my squadron training videos, but I ran into some problems with the recording of it. I'm trying to figure out a way to record, because some of these events can get pretty intensive, even though the graphics on S.XIII aren't as great as this game, since there's like 300 people in an arena flying together, a lot of times within close proximity of each other. The recording software that I use can't really keep up, and the video quality is not great as a result. So I'm recording this video in playback mode, so I record the sortie in Rise of Flight, and then use fraps to record the recording. And I was really surprised that it turns out really well. I'm really happy about that. So I'm gonna do a training campaign in Rise of Flight, kind of get my skills up, and then I'll start an offline career, and record that. Even though I like to mostly fly online, I think it would be a good way to practice in this game and get kind of a storyline started and follow that. And then I've also experimented with the S.XIII sortie recorder and tried using fraps with that, and it worked out really well. But I got to do some more experiments before I can be sure that I can use it for FSO and some of the more intense events, some of the more graphically intense events. But I'd really like to post those videos because I want your feedback. I want my squadron members' feedback if they watch them. I'm just pretty much trying to get better at this hobby. I think it's really cool. I think it's really fun to fly these planes, because to fly them in real life would be quite the financial investment. And even though you can't feel the wind, you can't feel the physical experience of being in these planes, there's a lot that these flight simulators do give you that you'll never get just flying one of these regular planes. And I think it brings you closer to the time period, kind of makes you think about what the aviators at the time thought about, maybe a little bit of what they felt, experienced. So what I did there, I circled over the field and I checked the wind. It was a very light wind, and I'm turning into its direction to try to land. Unfortunately, I mess up the approach because there's these like barracks in the way in the airfield, and I really don't manage my speed well because I try to clear them, and as a result I stay higher for a longer period of time than I should have, and then have a pretty rough contact with the ground, as you'll see. Right there, where I should have been descending, I stayed higher, and lo and behold, successful landing, if you want to call it that. But I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I'll be posting more of these, and thanks for watching. Bye.